And it wasn't planned to go, I didn't do like, 10 minutes or whatever, but just the 2 minutes were not planned to, it was at the beginning, it was just one shot just to have some fun. And I just started I think I did like 2 or 3 shots and I just put some sound on it just to see how it's going to look. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I just need to do a bit more just to finish that, there is the beginning, there is an end. And that's how it went.
Please welcome concept artist Florent Lebrun to this episode of the Learn Squared podcast. Florent drops by to share his journey and experiences of crafting his stunning short film, The Lost Tower, which you can check out by hitting the links attached to this episode. We also discover how he became a concept artist via matte painting and then ended up working on The Last of Us 2 and everything in between. Let's go. Cool. Let's go. Good. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast, and we're delighted to welcome on very awesome artist and guest, Florent Lebrun. Welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to having a chat and getting to know more about yourself and your creative awesomeness. Obviously, as we were recording, how long ago? Maybe recently-ish. The Lost Tower you just dropped, which is, I guess, a project, a short film that you've just done. But obviously, you're a very accomplished artist in your own right as well. But rather than me give a butchered version as to who you are, I'll be very grateful if you could let the guests know who you are and what you do.
Yes, so my name is Florent Lebrun. I'm a concept artist, like for video games, movie, animation, and all of that. Like nothing, super fancy. I guess everyone is doing kind of the same when you do concept. But yeah, other than that, doing that, working on, professional stuff and, trying when I have time and motivation to do my own personal project. Mm-hmm. Can be image, can be animation, like I did last time. Wasn't planned to do, that much of, of animation, but ended up like that. So it's, basically like the classic, like everyone else. Mixing personal and professional work. Yeah.
Nice. Just out of curiosity, what's your balance like now between personal and professional? Is it like a nice even split, or is it more lopsided to one or the other?
I have a hard time now, like when I have like a professional work, just to be able to switch my brain to personal. It really depends on the mood. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to have like professional work and I just wanted to finish just to focus on something personal. If I have, I think I need to have a project on the side, mm-hmm. like the little short film I did. I just wanted like to finish my day just to continue, working on that. Otherwise, like, I don't know. It just go with the mood, I guess. Right. Sometimes I want to work on the side. Sometimes I don't want to. So it's, nice. I guess the balance is uneven, all the time. It's never, 50-50 or.
Interesting. But it's not like a calculated thing, right? Like, it's like you said, like it's if the time is there and also if you want to as well.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much it. Yeah. I'm trying not to force too much, if I don't want to work on personal stuff, I'm just going to leave it there, at the end of the day, do something else, either like video game or, just go out or sport or whatever. It just, cause I've been trying just to force it when you don't want to. And it just ends up like you get frustrated and, pissed at what you're doing. So I'm just trying to leave it if I just don't want to.
It sounds like you found your, like, I guess, groove and your way of doing things. That was going to be my follow-up question as well. In fact, like, have you ever tried to force it? And obviously you have. Has that ever worked though? Like trying to force it? Have you ever gotten some good results, even though it's not something that obviously you prefer not to do?
Yeah. Yes, sometimes it can happen, I guess, because I'm going to try and, I'm going to have something that, it's just something that's going to hit, with me, with what I do. So sometimes it can happen. To have like that sparkle, in what you do. Like it's going to be bad, like for 2 hours and then just something and you're going to keep with the flow, I guess.
Fair enough. So how long have you been a concept artist? Like, do you still title yourself as that, or do you have a multiple, I guess, skill sets and job titles that you do?
Because I started as a matte painter. Like I worked as a matte painter for about 10 years or so, just before switching to concept. And I think I switched to concepts, like really to work, like in, 2018 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And at first I didn't have like any, background, I don't know, painting, a bit of drawing, but I started just to do that on the side, actually. Or taking even like the summer of work, of professional work. I was taking 2 months just to enjoy summer, obviously, but also, try to work on my skills, just to switch as a concept artist. It's something I really wanted to do at some point in my career as a matte painter, just to switch.
Was it like, so yeah, like, a lot of people I've spoken to, it's concept artist was like the end goal, and then they had different stepping stones to get to where they got to. Was that the case for yourself, or did you discover it whilst on your matte painting journey and realize, hey, this is something that suits me? Like, was it always kind of like a goal you wanted to reach?
Not really at the beginning, because I was, pretty happy like doing matte painting, but I guess the work kind of changed with the years, like getting like maybe more technical, 3D involved, and it was not like, how you kind of dream of, matte painting sometimes, where you just, I don't know if you see like the old master, you paint on glass. I know I knew I wasn't paint on glass and stuff like that, but it just got, you can get like 3D that doesn't look that good, and they just ask you to patch. So it was not, that fun. And I start to look into concept. I guess it was at the period when Last of Us came out. Like I was really getting into, concept. And I guess matte painting, the process was pretty close to concept. Because it was, at the time, 3D was not, that much important in the process, or at least, not that as big as now. So it was like mainly photo manipulation and stuff like that. So I was pretty comfortable with, with that process. So it was not, I guess, using that process for, professional work as a concept artist was pretty handy to have that background as a matte painter.
How did you find that transition? Was it like an organic one? Or did you find some teething problems trying to like recalibrate from matte painting brain to concept brain?
I guess that was cool, because it was just, all new, and I was just having fun, like not worrying about like, like the result, the process or anything. It was just trying out stuff, and it was pretty fun. I guess like it was even more fun than now, where you like I tend to focus too much on, how it's going to look at the end, and not, sometimes enjoying the process. But at the time it was just like you do a crappy painting or drawing, and like you think it's the best thing in the world, but you kind of let go like everything like pretty easily, I guess, at the beginning.
How did your matte painting journey start?
I did a school in France, focusing on all aspects of VFX, so compositing, animation, whatever. And I wasn't like familiar with any of that, particular, like each particular field, but so I tried compositing, animation, 3D, like, and so on. And I discovered matte painting, and matte painting was actually pretty fun. It was something like, I guess the more artistic, aspect of all the VFX. It was pretty cool just to go in that route. And I just, kept going and started like working. And it was, it was pretty fun.
Sick. So did you get like work straight after graduating? Was it almost like after school work started to come in?
Yeah, it's been pretty straightforward after that. So I got like lucky I actually was in Montreal. I moved to Montreal for a year, kind of almost after school, to work as a matte painter. It was kind of my first in-house job. So that went kind of well. It was pretty cool. And then I moved to London, for almost 3 years to work. It was, I don't know, like the boom of VFX company with MPC, Framestore and all of that. So I joined MPC and worked there as a matte painter. Then moved back to Canada to continue as a matte painter at Rodeo VFX, MPC, and so on. Yeah, all the companies.
What was like the project? Was your first project like? Professional one?
Yeah, like you want to know exactly what it was, like the project?
Yeah, I guess not that specific project, but like what was it like when you first got that gig? Was it what you expected?
A bit different, I guess, because it's I guess when you start, you get stressed like pretty easily with the first. I mean, I still get stressed, with any new gig, but this one was like, okay. And I was in Montreal, so you kind of have it, if that doesn't work, what I'm going to do, because I'm not even in France or whatever. So I have to go back. I don't know. It was like a lot of stuff like going through your head, but yeah, that kind of went yeah, it's a mix, I guess, mixed feeling, like the first experience.
The reason why I ask is because we get a lot of like beginners that listen to the podcast, and obviously they're still trying to embark on the journey. And one of the biggest things that people reach out for, just always ask on, and always are curious about, is that transition from either training or studying or trying to break in, and then breaking in. And sometimes it's like what people expected, and sometimes it's a shock to the system. How like what they thought the industry was versus what they expected. Was it a shock to yourself, or did it kind of feel like I guess like how prepared were you when the job started to come in?
Oh, when I moved like to start the job, like, I think I wasn't prepared at all. Like it was a bit. Yeah, the experience was weird because the company I came in after like a few months, they realized like I wasn't like that, had that much, I don't know, experience, which of course I didn't have, but they realized that. So they asked, can we lower your salary? Like after a couple of months, it was a bit weird. So I said yes, because that was in Canada. So you're like, yeah, of course. Yeah, you can, otherwise I don't know what I'm going to do. So it was a mixed feeling experience. But after I know, like, cause it was about 10 months, like that first job when I was in the company. But then when I moved to the UK to work at MPC, it was weirdly much more relaxed, even though it was a bigger project and a bigger company. It was much more, I don't know, something that, because it was a small company before, so maybe things were a bit, chaotic, but MPC was a bit more structured, I guess, when I arrived. So it was less stressful.
Nice. Would you say more like you said, like in the way things just happened, like how the process was and, how tasks were given, or was it more like a culture difference in terms of the companies?
Yeah, I guess I didn't know, because the only experience I had as matte painter was at school. So you kind of do things with the flow, but when you arrive, like there was like a lot of technical, stuff I wasn't, aware at all. But it's in matte painting, so it's so different than concept. I guess it involves like so much, so much more, in the process, because you're gonna have like the compositing after, and you have to, just be careful of a certain aspect when you work with images and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess I wasn't aware of all that process when I arrived. So it was a bit like of, okay, I'm gonna, learn as I go. But
if you had to go back in time or get a special time machine and bump into that Florent at that time, what would you advise him, if anything?
I don't know. Like compare like to me now, like, one good advice, I guess, on the artistic side, I would say like draw more, because I know I'm not a good drawer. So I would say, stuff like that, to learn your basics. Right. Now you're going to get less frustrated than trying to get into it now. So that's something I would do.
And how about like on that specific job, like just to help prepare, or even like to know what's to come? Like you said, like it was a case of straight from school into the job, and it was a bit more, I guess, intense and not knowing the steps and everything. Would you give any specific advice to that instance?
It's weird because it was a bit different at the time. Like we didn't have like that much resources. Just to, YouTube was it was there, but you couldn't like say how to do matte painting and stuff like that. So it was a bit different just to learn like the craft, because we had the GNOME on DVD to learn matte painting and stuff like that. So, and even the DVD GNOME were about, making cool images and painting a bit. It was Dylan Cole and Yannick Dussault. It was those two main, I don't know, it was just those two DVDs that everybody has at the time. Yeah. So yeah, it was hard just to find the information. And even like the teacher that we had were not like, I guess, that much, into all the technical aspect of the job. Right. And it evolved like so much since, I don't know, like 15 years. It changed so much also. So.
And what was it when you went to MPC? What kind of like projects were you working on? Was it the same kind of projects you were in the previous company, like the same kind of gigs, same kind of shows, or was it markedly different?
Yeah, it was like much bigger show. Like, cause I arrived, I work on Harry Potter. So it was the last one. So it was like, okay, that's a bit intimidating. Like you're like, okay, so now it's, project like that. It was a bit, but then you realize like it's not, that different. I guess it's the same when you imagine like, someone that you follow online and he's going to have, I don't know, it's going to have a big aura or something, but when you meet him in person, he's kind of, okay, it's just a normal dude. So it was kind of the same, a bit intimidating, but at the end it was, like teamwork and, like the process of, everyone around like helping you or, stuff like that. So it wasn't, I guess, that much of a big deal, but it was when I arrived, it was a bit intimidating.
How long were you on that Harry Potter show for? Like how long does a project last when you're on a gig like that? Does it vary time to time?
Yeah, it varies because it's, they're not doing like the whole movie. It was, like Framestore had a bit, Double Negative had a bit, and, NPC as well. And I was just on a small, sequence. So, I might, from what I remember, I had like, maybe like, a big shot to do or something, but then it was like small bits here and there just to help out. But I arrived, I think the show had already begun. So, and then I moved on another one and then another one, but it was never like more than, maybe 6 months or something like that.
Right. How long were you in London for that part of your career?
2.5 years, actually. Yeah. So
how did you find it?
Yeah, that was cool, man. I think like now, like if I could, I would like move back to London actually.
Right.
Or at least the UK, but I guess everything got a bit more complicated with the Brexit. So now it's, okay. Yeah.
Oh, is that what made you leave London initially, or was that a big factor?
No, because it was not even, I think, in the talks when we left, because it was in 2013. It was more like, we were kind of, had enough of the big city kind of vibe. So we decided to move to Montreal for a year. Then we stayed 2 years and so on. And we've been there like for more than 10 years. So
yeah, I'd love to know more about that. Like you said, like the getting up for the big city vibe and wanting to move. What made you make that decision? Obviously, you've explained it partially there, but at the same time, when you make a jump, when you make a move, and obviously it's the same case when you went to London as well, and also Montreal, like there's always that risk of like, what if it doesn't work out? What if things don't pan out? You've got something going there. Did that ever like kind of creep in, or was it more an excitement to make a change?
It was an excitement, yeah. I guess just to move somewhere. I knew already a bit like Montreal, but not my girlfriend, so we moved, and it was kind of a shock when you arrive, because actually after 2.5 years in London, like London, there is so much, going on, and it's just so lively, a lively city. Even though we were like kind of bored of, living in a big city, it was kind of a shock because Montreal was so quiet. So when you arrive, and there is always that shock, I guess, in between like, Europe and North America. So it was a bit different, but yeah, when I arrived, it was like for the experience, and I had like, job opportunities lining up. So it was good as well. Yeah.
Nice. How long did it take you to acclimatize when you went from London to Montreal? Was it obviously like you mentioned there, like there were noticeable differences, but did you get used to things pretty quickly, or was there still a bit of that kind of like homesickness type thing?
Yeah, I think there was like a bit of homesickness. I wasn't expecting it because I already lived in Montreal, but living like for almost 3 years in London, that kind of, changed a bit everything in my head. So I had a picture of Montreal that was not the same, it was so different when I went back. So, but it was okay. I guess the first year was a bit hard, but then we got used to it. Obviously, we got used to it because we spent like quite some time in there.
So this stint is 10 years or coming up to 10 years?
In Montreal?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been there like 12 years.
Wow.
12. Yeah.
Cool. And what's next? Are you going to stay here or?
No, back to the old continent. So moving back here to France.
What made you go to Montreal work-wise? Like, was that also matte painting work as well?
Yes, I was in contact with Rodeo VFX, which is a VFX company as well.
Yeah.
So I had like some, contact over there, and it was lining up to have like an open position as a matte painter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved without having at first like the job offer, but it was the plan in the, coming months when I arrived. And it happened, I think, like 2 or 3 months after I arrived. So
from your first job after school, and then obviously when you got to London and then back to Montreal, how did your workflow or knowledge base change or grow in that time? Was it quite dramatic, or was it subtle steps that you added to your arsenal of skills?
Like skill in matte painting at first, it's mainly like, it's so separated, like all the step, in the process, like someone gonna do that, the 3D for you. So I was not even like touching any, 3D software, not that much. Just some compositing software just to do like the camera projection that you do in matte painting. But other than that, like the process was mainly, you get the 3D and then, I don't know, you Photoshop. It's almost like concept, like you get like 3D that's kind of meh. And then you photobash on top and you just make it pretty nice. Just thinking of, separating stuff and, thinking of, what's gonna, happen next. But other than that, it was mainly like, working on my skills with, using photo and stuff like that.
And was
perfect. Yeah, wait, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Which was perfect for, transitioning to concept later on, because I was, learning like more and more to deal with, to work with photos and stuff like that.
So was your main like tool throughout that time Photoshop pretty much, or were there other different programs?
Photoshop and Nuke. And Nuke was, compositing software, but it was mainly to do projection. So it was not even, going that much, that deep into the software. But it was mainly those two, like a bit of, Maya, because I learned Maya at school. But other than that, no, not mainly Photoshop, yeah.
And we'll get to the concept art transitional journey soon. But what's your skill set and tool set now?
I guess a bit everything.
Right.
So it's pretty fun. The skill set just got, you have to learn everything now. Which is a bit too crazy, but it's fun and sometimes a bit overwhelming because there is always something new coming up. So.
How, does it ever get out of hand for you, or do you kind of know which tool to pick at any given time?
I kind of know, but I think my process always kind of move. I don't have I have a process that is constantly kind of the same, but I kind of like to mix up also like the process. So I might use, Blender at some point and then like to do the modeling, and after I'm going to use 3D Coat just to, to mix up things. Sometimes I kind of like to work like that, just to mix up the process is the same, but the tool can, I can shuffle like the tool just to keep it fresh, I guess.
Do you think that's like when you're dealing with different tools, and obviously new tools always constantly coming and changing, do you think that's probably the best way to approach it? Like if you kind of know what process you want to do in terms of like the stages from blank canvas to finished image, like is it easier then to switch between different tools because you kind of know what you need from that tool, if that makes sense?
Yeah, because now I know I try to stay like, just if I have to use 3D, I'm going to stay as much as I can in Blender. I don't want to start to mix up. Even, if I have to do, clothes or stuff like that, I'm just going to do my best to stay in one software, because it can break like the flow sometimes. I'm going to open, I don't know, Marvelous Design, and all those other software. And it's kind of, I don't know, tiring when you have to just constantly switch like the software to do one, to work. So, but right now I'm mixing, I guess, like 3D Code Blender, and that's it.
Same. I literally did the same thing earlier on today, and just before we jumped on, I started a new project. And I'm like, okay, I need to use this and this, but I just don't want to have to open another application. No. So at this moment in time, in Blender, do as much as possible before I can even change. Why do you think that is for yourself? Is it more like a distraction thing, or is it just simply for flow state, or even just for ease of use?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, for the flow, like mainly, and it just, so I don't have to, I can keep going and, just, cause I can maybe start modeling something in Blender but also at the same time, I can focus on the lighting as well. Otherwise, I have to, like, if I have one software where I do, like, for example, just the modeling, that asset, like super, I'm not going to think about the lighting, which can, change, dramatically how you're going to detail something. Maybe I don't need, that much detail because, the lighting is going to be, so I can work, in parallel, like, every aspect of the image or design.
Are there any tools that you got your eye on that you haven't tried yet?
I try not really anymore. Like I'm like, I'm okay now.
Yeah.
I had enough like of, there is that new stuff that look, it's like, it's going to be perfect to do that. And then there is always a new something. But I think now I'm thinking more of going back to something like even more simple, even like the 3D. Just, I want to less, try to push it less and just, go back to something more. I have like that simple 3D and I can have fun in Photoshop.
Interesting. Is that more because you're saturated with the tools, or is that more like a philosophical reason? Or is it just where you're, again, organically moving towards now?
No, I guess it's a mix, yeah, because I guess like for me, like I know even now, like 3D is what became like so overwhelming because there is always like a new stuff which is better, that's gonna help you to go like faster. So I'm like, I look back at what I was doing before and I just like the process was so much like, at least for me, it was so much more fun, like just to have something so basic in 3D and you can just rely on other, more fun way to do an image with like painting, photo bashing, and because now you can push so much like the 3D, then sometimes it's I don't know. I that's for me. Like now I feel I'm losing a bit of the fun because of that.
Similar experience in my end as well. Like recently, again, organically even realized it. I've always got like a sketchbook around me, just doodling and stuff. But I found myself doing more and more considered work, just pen, marker, and simple as that. Going back to my roots, I guess, but more so because it's efficient. There's no GPU or hardware stuff needed. You just go ahead and do that. And it made me think as well, like, yes, I can solve many problems just with the pen and pencil, although I do prefer when it's all 3D and every angle is kind of taken care of. But there is something to say, and I don't think you hit the nail on the head as well, where like, when you go into tools or specific workflow, obviously 3D is a great example, because obviously there was that transition maybe a decade ago where things were like from digital 2D into like maybe start using 3D to very rapidly you have to use everything 3D. I'm exaggerating there a little bit, but it's pretty much the case. But then it makes you think like, okay, was I not doing the best I could have done maybe design wise or problem solving wise because I was focusing so much on a specific skill set or a tool set like 3D, for example. So the question to yourself is, what do you think when it comes to like say 3D, for example, or this current workflow that perhaps restricts you as a creative?
Yeah, it's, I guess like it's again, I guess the flow, cause it's like 3D is way more, I guess, rigid when you're gonna do something. So that's why also I'm trying in 3D just to keep it, like simple or rough. That's why I really love 3D code because it's kind of dirty 3D.
Yeah.
Like, nothing is perfect.
Great way to explain it.
Yeah, you can, I don't know, you can have fun. Like, I didn't touch it for, I guess, like a year or so, and I went back to it, recently for a project, and it was, okay, why did I stop, using that software? Because it's just, so much fun, like the way you model, the way you do, like, all of that. It's just in that software, I really enjoy it feels so much like sketching in 3D that, I was kind of missing it. And now I'm just working with it and just thinking of what I can do next with that software.
Are there any tools that you tried and just it never clicked and you never want to touch them again?
Yeah, ZBrush.
Okay.
Yeah, ZBrush. I tried it and I just, no, I don't know. It looked like too much like everywhere. And I kind of hate that now in software where there is just too much and it become like overwhelming. It looks, I wish I could have like the patience maybe to learn it because it looks, amazing, but because there is stuff like even Marvelous Designer, I tried it. I'm like, I actually don't need it for what I do. Right. I never go that much in detail. And even in Blender, I can kind of do, that kind of stuff. It's going to be more rough maybe, but I do concept. I'm not like, do a character design where it needs to be maybe just, on point. So and it's again, going back to, I want to stay in one software as much as I can.
Well, I think if anything, Blender's probably got the best chance out of all of them to be able to do everything almost in one software. Like considering like my own journey began 3D wise, like 2008 or 9 when I first discovered 3D. I came from the transport design route, and there was always had to be a specific tool for a specific thing, whether it's like surfacing or poly modeling. Then there was like texturing and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, like you said before, like they had to have like multiple different things just to be able to complete that one project, right? And then what Blender's been able to do over time, like it's pretty impressive that it can, like, for example, cloth simulations and just doing cloth almost seem to be exclusively a Marvelous Designer thing or something. I think maybe even Houdini at one point. And now you can do a very decent job or what's possible or needed concept wise in Blender, for example. So shout out to Blender and the whole community for that, because I think it's the fact that the users and how much people create from it that has really enabled it to accelerate it. Because I know with Autodesk and not to put them to shame, but there's other manufacturers out there as well. The development rate was just so slow versus what Blender can do. But then I also find sometimes with Blender is too much. Like there's another add-on that's already outdated and I've just only got used to it. And I'm just kind of battling with that now. Do you find the same or no?
Yeah. It's weird because it was, at first I was always, checking like Blender Market. Oh, what's that new add-on that like? And it's like those video game on Steam that you're going to buy, you're going to play like 10 minutes and never open it again. It was kind of that at first, like trying, I'm going to buy that add-on that looks amazing, and you just try it and never use it again. So now I'm like, okay, maybe this one. I think there is probably 5 or 6 that I use, every day, but now I'm not trying to, find that, that one tool that looks like it's gonna, save my life or save my day of work. I'm gonna work like 2 hours and, it's gonna be enough just because it's that magic tool. There is no kind of magic tool that saves you time, but I try to, now just, keep what I have, and it's enough.
Interesting. And I love it as well. It kind of made me realize recently as well, like, what if this add-on just goes out of date or no one updates it anymore? Because again, it is like an indie space and not everybody's able to, a lot of these teams are just all one-man teams or maybe a few small people and life gets in the way and maybe they can't update it anymore or it's a bit slower. And if you lean too much into that and then that just is no longer available anymore or it's obsolete because of a new Blender version, then you're kind of stuck. So it makes sense to kind of like, be able to use just vanilla stuff and just be able to do what you need to do. With that said, is there any kind of like tool or feature that you would love to see that hasn't been done yet, or at least done properly, at least in your eyes?
In Blender, you mean? Like
anything. Just for you as a creative, at least software-wise.
No, so far I'm good with what I have. I'm not. I guess like, there is always stuff that you'd like to, like for example, Blender to handle better or just do, but they keep, updating. And I feel like it's always on the right track just to make, things better and better. So, and for what I do, like it's more than enough. I'm not like pushing to the limit, I guess, Blender. So, and even with the other tools, I'm happy right now.
Nice. Let's talk concept art. Was it work that made you switch to it? Like, was it like a gig or like a professional project that said, I'm going to go concept art? Or were you kind of doing your own concepts as personal projects on the side as the matte painting journey was obviously the job?
Yeah, I started just a tiny bit in London. I was starting just to sketch a bit in Photoshop, just to learn a bit more to paint. I was doing it at school, then I stopped, and, I don't know, just continue with that. But my sounds cliche, but when I arrived in Montreal, it was 2013, and it's when The Last of Us came out.
Yes.
I played that game and I was like, okay, I was blown away, and I'm like, I want to work on, that kind of project. And I started to look into it, how it was done and stuff like that. So I started to kind of learn the skill on the side. So I started to paint, do daily painting. Even when I was at work and I had like a bit of time, I was doing like, small thumbnail of, just do color thumbnail, 5 minutes, just to learn. And it was stuff like that led to, learning painting and concept art stuff, just to do the work. And it was really like kind of the plan at some point. I'm going to work on a project like that. So it was the whole idea behind starting as doing concept.
Oh, nice. So was that all off your own accord? Like you just felt compelled to just do those little tasks and do those little kind of like practice just to get yourself better?
Yeah, it was super, because I was discovering kind of everything, and I started with a course of Nathan Fox, and it was
yes.
It was doing like those thumbnail painting, 5 minutes, and you work with a big brush, and I did like 100 of them, just whatever. It was just learning the colors and UI, and it was like pretty fun. Then I started to do, I'm going to do more illustrations, so kind of thinking more like the composition, the lighting, but on a bigger scale and adding details. Started to add like smaller bit of 3D as well, which was like the beginning, but it was just, I don't know, grayscale render, and you just paint on top and do that kind of, but it was like the information you could find online about the process. It was mainly that, because nobody knew that you could add like, I don't know, texture on a render or just nice lighting. So it was the process.
That was a nice era, like from, I guess, a few years before that up to that time, because things are starting to come online. Things are starting to become more organized and curated. Prior to that, like you said, it was the Noman DVDs. I think nothing but Mech and a few Design Studio Press had a few books out. But you had to kind of like source them or save up for them. I remember being at uni at that time, and a few of them I constantly had on auto renew. So I didn't want no one else to take them. But then obviously, like you said, like then a lot more information came about, and it's easier to digest and more accessible. How did you find getting used to concept art and doing those thumbnails? Did you find it a challenge, or did it feel natural to you?
I guess with the matte paintings, work, I developed like an eye for, lighting and color and stuff like that. But my end was just not used to paint, in Photoshop and keep it things like loose. But I think I had like the, I kind of knew when it was wrong, like the color. I'm not saying I'm just like master and I know like, everything about lighting and color, but I think that helped like so much doing that kind of, of job before, like matte painter, to transition to concept art and even painting. That helped a lot, like the transition. And I was like having so much fun, and I could see like the progress. So that was kind of easy. I'm seeing that now. Maybe at the time I was, but I remember like just, as I said, I was like taking like a month off during summer just to work on that. I really wanna, just work as a concept artist. So I was trying to just, learn new stuff and develop my skills during the summer.
So it's like a joyful thing, right? Like it was something that you got excited to do, like almost like gaming and entertainment, as opposed to a chore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was just about fun. Yeah.
That's always a good sign. Even like with anything, I guess, in life, like if you see yourself getting like good anticipation or excitement for something, that means something that's kind of like, maybe you should nurture a bit more, I guess, if it's healthy at least. Because you're probably going to end up being quite decent at it. And obviously you definitely are. When did you, because obviously I guess, especially around that time, two, I guess, common questions that used to always come up was, what brushes do you use? And how do you get good? Or when do you know you're good? So when did you get good from those thumbnails to becoming, I guess, like a professional grade or hireable concept artist?
At work as a concept artist, because I sent my stuff to One Pixel Brush at the time, to Shadi Safadi, and he replied to me, "Are you available?" So I was like, "Oh, okay,
Oh, nice.
I might be," but I was full time in a company, so it was a bit. It was just I just wanted his, opinion on my work, so that was pretty cool. And you're like, okay, so I have a shot at that. So, and I started to actually work with him. Kind of on and off, while I was working as a full-time, in a full-time company, just because, I didn't want it to miss that opportunity. Sure. And it's kind of when I realized, okay, I can, it's going well, and I can probably gonna be able to switch, to full-time concept artist.
Cool. And from that moment, was that the moment where you just switched to concept art, or was there still a bit of like a bit of delay before that happened?
Yeah, a bit of delay. It was also like paper, stuff. Cause over there I was working on a visa, and I had to be with a company if I wanted to stay and to work.
Got it.
And then I got like a statue where I was able to do, whatever I want. So I left the company and I started like full time as a concept artist.
That's easily forgotten. A lot of times as a professional, especially in a different country, like it's not just a case of just moving. There's all that kind of like, I guess, paperwork side of things and legal side of things and all that kind of stuff. So fair play on that one. So when did you kind of switch to full-time concept art then? Was that like a specific gig?
Yeah, it was Last of Us Part 2. So it was just, it's fun because, that sounds like cliche or whatever, but it was the goal, and that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Being that first project as a concept artist, that was pretty insane at the time, and that was so much fun with the team, with the work, with everything. It was like best gig ever. Like, so
sick. Yeah, was that directly with
that one? Yeah.
Was that directly with Naughty Dog, or was that through
with
outsourcing studio?
With One Pixel Brush? Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. First of all, obviously, like you said, like Last of Us pretty much got you into it. Last of Us is, I think, one of the most important things creatively that's ever been created, let alone just a game. Obviously, I think for artists and concept artists in particular, it's set like a certain benchmark, and obviously, like, to use correctly, for lack of a better term, like triggered a lot of people to like want to create something, because there's always that something where like you can enjoy something as, oh, that's nice, and I really enjoy that, to where you can't escape that thing you just experienced, and you have to kind of like create and do stuff for that as well. When you got that Last of Us 2 gig, was that something that you were pushing for? Did it come as a surprise? Was it more like a strategic thing you went for? Was it, again, like an organic thing that happened?
Oh yeah, I pushed toward that like crazy. Like it was like the goal, because I think they didn't announce it, but at some point it was, like rumors and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm just gonna do what, everything I can to work on that project. I cannot miss it. So I think I was painting more at the time, like just doing, and then I started, adding, work with photos and make something like, stuff, I guess, more realistic or toward that way. So I made like, destroy city with overgrowth everywhere. So it was the idea, because I guess that's what, can, get me in on the project. So it was completely like a choice to.
So there's definitely people listening who are on that similar pathway, or at least just trying to break in or trying to get onto that particular project that is a dream project, or they feel like they can definitely deliver something for that. How would you describe that process of like you pushing for it and fighting for it? Like, what were the kind of things you were doing? What was your mindset like? Was it a positive experience? Was it an unhealthy one? I'd love to know all about that.
Yeah, it was, both healthy and positive, but it was not that much stressful for me because I had like a full-time job on the side. It was not like either I, I make it, or, I'm not going to do anything else. So it was, pretty easy. And even with my professional work, I was still learning, new stuff, like, and especially using photos, which was completely in the alley of, doing, image for the Last of Us. So it was like, for me, it was not, I guess, that hard just to, to aim to that goal, because everything that I was doing was kind of, heading in that direction. So that helped a lot.
How was it when you were on that project? Obviously, it's an IP that you're fond of. Did that help you, or did that hinder you in any particular way?
What, to be kind of
on Last of Us? Yeah.
To like the game, yeah. It was pretty cool just to when you are like fan of a project like that, and you are able to work on the sequel. That was like pretty insane at the time, and we were like 5 or 6 on the project at One Pixel Brush, and all like fanboys of Naughty Dog and Last of Us. So that was pretty cool just to all be able to be on that project. Like, a lot of stress, because they raised the bar, because I remember when we received like the first concept they did, like, it was like kind of their benchmark, how it's gonna look. You're like, okay, I'm not able to do that. Like, how the hell I'm gonna be able to do that? But that was cool. Like, it was, because I remember when we received the image, I guess it was, I don't know, Shadi sent us like end of the week, Friday or Thursday, and I spent like the weekend just trying to do an image. Like, it was not part of the job. I was like, okay, how can I achieve that look now? And I spent 2 days just trying to to match, be able to match kind of that quality of image. Because I remember before we were used to, work in 2K resolution or something, like the image was small, but the concept we received from Dave was 5K wide. So you're like, what the fuck? You see all the details, and you're like, okay, that's also a change that we're gonna have to adapt to.
When you mentioned stress, was it just like you said, like just trying to meet the standards that they had set?
Yeah, it was mainly that. Like, the standard was so high that you're like, okay, we need to match that. We need to be, or at least if we don't match, be really, really close to, something that quality wise is going to be, par with them.
And obviously there's like, stress can come in. Well, stress is stress, but there's like a positive kind of stress, like it pushes you forward. And there's one that kind of like can hold you back. Which one did you experience?
I think it was a good stress. Like, you always get stressed when you you receive the brief and you're like, whatever what I'm going to do. But I guess Shadi was pretty good with that. He always send us like, notes and ideas that we can aim to, even for the composition and stuff like that. So that really helped, everyone to relieve the stress, even though that could be stressful when you don't eat, something that he liked. But all the team, I think, worked together. We were sharing assets and, tips, tricks, whatever. So that helped a lot, like, just to feel more relaxed on the project.
Please tell me to shut up if you can't tell me, but what was the first kind of like task that you had or project that you had to do on The Last of Us 2?
I think we were doing like black and white comps.
Yeah.
So it was not color at the beginning. I did like that colored version on the weekend, but it was not like part of a brief or whatever. But it was black and white comps. I guess it was just to see what we could do, and then we got like more work and more work, because I guess they were happy with the stuff we did.
And did you kind of like do you have your own kind of corner to work on and things you had to do, or was it, because obviously sometimes there's like, you do this, you're taking care of this, and we'll trust you with this. Sometimes it's a case of things circle around between everybody and they constantly get upgraded and improved. What was the kind of dynamic for yourself?
Oh, we had like pretty straightforward briefs, so that was, I guess, easy. Just like with the art direction and all of that, it helped. I don't remember everything, because
sure,
it's been a while. Like how we worked exactly, but I remember being like pretty straightforward as far as how we work with them.
Cool. And just to give people an insight into like on a project like that, for example, obviously every project different. There's different demands, there's different requirements, and so on. But how long how long did tasks take, or what was an average day like when working on like a project like The Last of Us 2?
I guess like like an image from start to finish was about like 2 or 3 days, something like that. So because you push like so much, it was really like getting into the detail of the image, so that could take a bit of time. Sometimes you're gonna manage to do 1 day, sometimes you need a bit more than that, but it was like the scope from 1 to 3 days, I guess.
Cool. And since Last of Us 2, what other projects have you worked on? Have you worked on any more dream projects, of course? But also, what other projects have you done since that are close to you?
There is one especially that I worked like for 2 years. Then it got canned by Netflix, so it got cancelled.
Okay.
So it might still be still happening, but it was like probably like also like one of the best projects I worked on with a director. So that was pretty, like it was a collaboration, and it just not just I was doing the work. It was really, they were like an exchange. Like I could bring ideas and stuff like that directly with the director. So that was pretty amazing and unexpected as well. It was not something I was, maybe aiming for to work on. It was an animation project, and I was, I never thought of maybe, and I just got like an email out, out of nowhere. Would you like to do a call with, with the director? And
sick. And when you get like, because it is something that I think everybody experiences at a certain point in their careers, where you work on something and, like you said, it gets canned, and there's many reasons for that as well. Does it affect you in a particular way, or do you just see it as like part of the industry and you just kind of move on? Especially like you said, when something that's you've done a lot of work for, good work, stuff that you've enjoyed. Like, is it easy to process when that happens for you?
This one was not easy to process,
right?
Just because I don't know, like everything was like amazing, like all the team working with the director and all of that. The project was super fun, and it just, and also you don't see the reason where it was kind of politics, I guess, it's, I don't know. So it was a bit hard to process, and like I work with a friend on that, and we still sometimes say, remember that was a good project. Hope it's gonna come back and stuff like that. So yeah. But I remember we worked with the production designer, and it kind of moved on like super quickly with that. He said, it's part of, the industry that's going to happen. So I guess it's because it was our first like big project. I mean, regarding like, working directly with a director, that it was kind of hard to, to take and just, pass to, move on to something else.
Across all the jobs you've had, obviously you worked on films, you worked on video games, animation as well. Have you found like there's a more common project than another, or is it just a broad range of things that you've worked on?
You mean like what do I prefer, like in terms of?
That's the second question. But the first one, like, what kind of projects like have you worked on? Like, is it mainly films? Is it mainly games, animation, or is it a nice mix?
Yeah, I guess like it's even like there is no. I work on movies. Yeah. I'm not like especially the guy that you're going to call to do like an animation or, whatever. I kind of did like even amount of, movie, video game and animation.
And which one do you prefer?
Sometimes if I'm going to work on, animation, I'm like, I want to do like something more realistic, and then I'm gonna work on something realistic. I'm like, I'm missing when I do like animation. Video game, it's cool because you can. I guess video game can be a very long process, and especially if you work on big games. So, and you have like more constraint, as you work, because you have to think about, I don't know, the space where the player can go if you go into that kind of detail, but. Yeah, I don't have like, especially if I like the project, I'm done with, whatever, if it's animation and a video game or whatever.
And do you find you have to like tap into certain different skills with each one, or are you able to kind of approach them all the same way?
Yeah, I guess depend on the project as well, because I did some where I guess like more design was involved. Other, it was more about, just have fun and just propose, kind of, weird, crazy environment. And we don't care about, designing and, being that much precise. So it's a scope of, depend on the project, I guess. I know I'm less, into like designing, just on point, like stuff like that. I kind of like to kind of sell the world that you can see, but I like, every aspect of a project. So
what it kind of answered it there, but like, is there a particular part of the creative process, particularly obviously in concept art, that you prefer the most?
When like thing like, clicked and I'm starting to get in the flow. After that,
Nice.
I don't care if it's the beginning, the end, the middle, like, but
Sick.
like, I know like the hard part for me is, I need to find that zone, where I'm like, okay, that's it. And I'm just going to get like super focused and, cause I can get like frustrated like super quickly at the beginning.
Right.
Things are not going the way I want. So, but once it's, I'm really into the project, that's like, whatever, I don't have like a specific moment, in the project or in the process that I like more.
Well said, and that's super relatable as well, for sure. Like, yeah, anything, especially when you do like multiple things, I think that's the best thing to look for or to search for. If it clicks, go ahead, like whatever you need to do. Let's talk about the Lost Tower.
Yeah.
When did that start? How did it begin? And we'll get to all the other juicy stuff after.
I guess I don't remember, like 2 or 3 years ago, I did a Porco Rosso shot. It was just, I was walking and I was, like, man, I'm going to test that because I've been curious with Blender, if I'd be able to do like stylize and get it closer to Ghibli stuff, because like every concept artist, I love Ghibli. So, or everyone, I guess. And I just started with that and I did that shot and I was like, okay, cool. I'm happy with it and I, might go back and do more. And I guess I didn't touch or even think about it for 2 years. And then I'm like, okay, I'm kind of have some free time or bored, with work or whatever. I just want to, have some fresh stuff to do on the side. And I started I was like, okay, I'm going to do one other shot. So I used like the Porco Rosso plane that I had, and I just started to set up a shot. It was just kind of the opening shot where it's flying in the cloud, but it was pretty much different. And I just, okay, I did, I'm going to push that shot. Oh, I'm going to add one. And just, I added one, and I'm just, okay, I'm going to take like the design of the plane. It's, it's pretty close, like it's almost like the same plane, but I was, just wanted to have fun with the project, but just move away a bit from Porco Rosso and just add like, my stuff anywhere. And I just added a shot and redesigned the plane, another shot. And it just like keep, stacking up like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't planned to go, I didn't do like, 10 minutes or whatever, but just the 2 minutes were not planned to, it was at the beginning, it was just one shot, just to have some fun. And I just started to, I think I did like 2 or 3 shots and I just put some sound on it.
Yeah.
Just to see how it's going to look. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I just need to do a bit more, just to finish that, there is the beginning, there is an end. And that's how it went.
Sick. How long did it take overall?
Because I know when, maybe 6 to 8 months, just because I started it, I didn't touch it for, I don't know, all summer, and it just went back, and it was, just some, at the beginning I was kind of focused on, then I didn't touch it, because I think I did half, and I was like, I have no idea what I want to do for the other half. I think I did 1 minute, and I don't know. I don't know how to finish it. I don't know what's going to come next. So I didn't touch it, and then I had some ideas, and I tried them in Blender. I was like, okay, and I kept like adding, and at the end it took an extra like month or so, because I hired a guy to do like the music, which was like super cool collaboration as well. So that gave me time just to push as well the image, because he was sending me sample of the music. I was like, okay, that's cool. So I need to give me ideas just to push a bit more like the the short.
Nice. So that's 6 to 8 months. Is that including the breaks?
Yes.
Oh. And if you didn't have a break, obviously it was like, okay, we have to finish it and this is a paid gig, for example. If you compressed it, how long do you think it would have taken?
I think if I had been like a bit more organized, because I didn't really plan, so I didn't do like maybe a storyboard or
cool.
a simple animatic version of it. I guess I could be like very quick now, like maybe 2 months, that could fit in. It's just because I didn't want to be stressed about it, because it was a personal project and I just wanted to have fun,
Yes.
Okay, if I do 1 minute, it's cool. If I do 1:30, it's cool. If I do 40 seconds, it's cool. But I just wanted, as much as, I was inspired to add more. So I kept going just to add more.
Sick. It also sounds like maybe it was a good thing that it was done in those, I guess, like those patches, because like you said, it was, I guess you're constantly thinking about it in the background, right? Like you're constantly thinking what can happen next, or sometimes the idea just comes to you. Do you think if you had done it in that like compressed time, it would have turned out the same way?
No, I think I would have stopped like way before, and I kept like all the version, and it kind of, you could see like the evolution, like, as far as the look, because I went back and I was like, no, that's just not working. Because I had like, I remember I had like some backdrop for the sky and stuff like that, and I was like, no, it's, it's not working. And as I wanted to add more, I went back to almost every, from the first shot to the where I was, but I changed everything. I just, did a revamp of, the grading and stuff like that. So I changed quite a lot, like, because I had more time to do it.
And you mentioned there, like, you didn't do anything with the storyboard. If you were to do it again, for example, but you still had the same time frame, what things, I guess, obviously storyboards, like your common kind of like process before you start an animation, for example, like you storyboard things out, plan your shots and what have you. What things would you have liked to have added that is like a normally typical part of the process? Like, would you have liked to have gone back and storyboarded it? Or do you think a lot of the charm comes from the fact that it wasn't even storyboarded? And maybe even other things as well?
Yeah, I think so as well, because I had like some shot idea that just popped at some point, in my head. Like that I did. I'm not even sure I would have been able to think of them if I was like either drawing or, do a mock-up in 3D. And if I had to redo it, I would probably do a like very simple animatic, but in 3D, and probably not, storyboard with on, drawing and stuff like that, just because that, even though I want to go back to more basic, process, like the 3D for that kind of stuff, it's just cool because I can play with the lens, I can play with, with the lighting, the composition, like super quickly. I guess I went, too quickly with detail, but if I had to go back, I would like do an animatic, think maybe of the shots and just do an animatic in 3D, but super simple, not in detail.
Alongside that, are there any other kind of like things or ways of doing things that you discovered or learned that you'll do next time around, just on this project alone?
Yeah, I think like, because I really want to go back to it, like just either like do not a revamp, but really think of a story, because I think I don't really have like a story, because at first it was just it's like you do one image and you're gonna animate it, and it's kind of that vibe. I didn't have a story in mind. It just I kind of have a vague idea of what it could be, but it's not in detail, and I would like to think more of the story aspect of it, and just that. And after, like, as far as the process, I have I could cut stuff out of my process, and just to be faster now, like on the next one, if I ever do a next one.
That's actually going to be my next question, like story wise. And that's interesting that you have, like, obviously that wasn't kind of like, I guess, the main driving point for this particular project. Just to let you know, like, my favorite shot of this one is when does the character have a name?
No, not even. Like, it's
okay,
just
cool.
Random character, one or whatever.
We'll call random one. when they just land and approach, and obviously got that shot from at the top of the tower, looking down at the pier thing. That's my favorite one, for example.
It's probably my favorite one as well. It was
sick.
and I just tried in 3D. Like I don't know, just moving, around with the camera. Like, okay, that's cool. I'm eagle eye like that, and it's just moving a little, and I was like pretty happy with it. And I had like another music at the time, and the music kind of that's cool, because I had like violin and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool, yeah.
Amazing. What was it like getting the score involved as well? Were you involved in terms of sculpting that, or did you let? Is it what was the composer's name? Is it Louis?
Louis Lacoste, yeah.
Yeah. Did you let him basically cook, or did you kind of like go back and forth with him?
No, that's what because at first I started, I used like a music from an old video game on the PS1, Grandia. It's called Grandia. So I don't know if you know, like it's an old RPG, and I used that music. And at first,
interesting.
Like, I really love that score, and I tried to contact like the company that was making the game, the composer and stuff like that. Like, would I be able to use that? It's a personal project, but they're like, no way. So
fair enough.
It was like and it was actually good news, because that was cool, because I was okay. So I need something like original. So I contacted him. He was interested, like, okay, we can, work together. And I said, like, I don't want to be, that I don't know, art director or whatever. I really like that music, and you do kind of the same, but not the same.
Yes. Yes.
So, and you are like, it's your job. Like, it's not my job to do music. So I'm trusting you, man. So just do your stuff, I don't want to have like someone contact me, to do like an image and be, giving me like more like direction. It's your stuff. It's what you do. So I'm going to let you get inspired by the image and all of that. He didn't even listen to the music I used, because he didn't want it to be influenced, which was cool, because I guess like the first draft was a bit tough, because I've been listening to the old score for, I don't know, 5 months, just doing like the cuts.
Yeah.
So it was like readapting like my ears and all of that, but I made it listen to my girlfriend, to some friend, and they're like, oh, that's super cool. And I was like, I don't know. And then I kept listening to it, and I was like, that's super cool, because he tried to like so you have different portion like following like the short. So the music change. It's almost like the music is a story, like follow the story, and you have different beats. And when I like, it really hits me, like I was, that's super cool. Just to have like that, everything is, having the original score is pretty dope, actually. At the end, you're like, that's amazing.
Oh, no. Yeah, you did an amazing job. And it's the perfect, I guess, like narrator for the film, because obviously there's no like dialogue to guide you, there's visuals. And like you said, like when you get the top shot, then obviously the music changes a little bit. That just perfectly, it's amazing. And I'll just quickly just mention, like, I love a good geek out of like score, and obviously how it complements pictures and movement and motion, and obviously vice versa as well. And it was really fun. Also, I'm intrigued that you're going to go back to this world as well. And do you have an idea now of like what you want to explore, at least narrative wise? Don't have to tell me. I don't enjoy spoilers too particularly, but do you kind of know what you want to explore in this particular, I guess, universe?
Vague ideas, but I'd like to work with a writer or something, because right now I know I'm not, I don't have the experience, or even if I learn, but I kind of like also like collaborative work. So it's cool when you bounce ideas. Yes. So that's always pretty cool. So we'll see, but yeah, definitely maybe even the style that might change a bit, just to keep it like kind of, that simple look. But, I want to also try to add like, some stuff I really like about, lighting and, maybe more cinematic, so it's, we'll see. Like, I really want to go back and see what I can do with the project. Yeah.
And that's interesting as well, because sometimes when you finish a project, especially one that's taken like a fair bit of time, either you're happy with it or not, sometimes it's just glad that it's kind of like completed and you can just move on. did you have anything with this, or is it kind of like pulling you back in, or do you have like a fondness to the project, if that makes sense?
Like when I finished, I wanted to make like because people were interested in seeing like a making of, because just, I guess people are interested in that look and how you can achieve it. And I was like, I'm going to do it. Then you finish and I'm like, I want to move on, at least for now. Yeah. But it's slowly getting back where I'm like, okay, I want to actually go back to, that world. I think you need to digest it because I was so much into the project at the end. You're like, okay, I don't know. You don't think of anything else almost. Yeah. And then you finish and you're like, okay, I might get like a bit of rest of, doing that. And I actually started like other shot on something like more darker and realistic, just because I really like that balance where you just, I'm going to do something like very colorful and, happy and whatever. And just, I get tired of it and I just want to move to something more moody. So I'm always doing that. So
sick. Speaking of technical or behind the scenes, I'd love to know a bit more about, like, again, what you'd like to reveal as well. How technical this project was. Obviously, you mentioned it started off as like just a kind of like, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but like a Porco Rosso like tribute kind of thing. I'm trying to see if you can just get that shot and nail it. Did you find doing things in a stylized way in Blender difficult, or was it again something that it was in your skill set?
No, it was pretty easy. Like I did a lot of, cause like when you see like the environment, it's actually like I'm using cards where I just do a painting. Like I was painting a lot of, islands and stuff like that. And I just put them on card. So it's not like an actual object in 3D. I did the base in 3D and just, cause I wanted to also paint again, like more. So it was also like the opportunity just to go, okay, I can, like they would do in Ghibli, like it's not actual like 3D, like everything is on a plane, kind of, anyway. So I wanted to give like, you always have that 2D feel on everything. So it was so technical stuff in Blender was pretty easy. It was just kind of finding like the kind of simple look, but as far as the rest, it was just painting and just, having fun doing, setting up after like everything in Blender with what I did in Photoshop.
Was it anything like super difficult technical wise, or was there a particular shot or maybe even element in the project that was really tough to just get done?
Like some of the animation part when I started to have like the character, I know it's not that, looking that perfect on like the dolphin and stuff like that. So I started to animate that like by hand. It was kind of okay. I know I did like some mistakes because like, like the frame rate, like usually for the Ghibli or anime, it's always different and it can be a low frame rate, and I use a low frame rate in Blender, which kind of at the end it gave like that the look is not that fluid when you play. Like now it kind of really bothered me when I look back at it, and I know it's a mistake I'm not going to do for the next one. I would try to keep that anime kind of vibe with the frame rate, but try to have something that doesn't like, burn the eye when you look at it. Because sometimes you can see it's almost like you're buffering the video, and it's, so it's stuff like that I would be like more careful about for the next one.
And what, again, it could be like the whole thing or certain aspects or certain pieces of the project. What are you most proudest of, or what made you, I guess, the most happiest of like, yes, I'm glad this is in there?
In the short, like to I don't know, to have like, finish it, like to have push it to make it, like you have kind of a beginning, kind of an end, even though there is no like clear story. I just wanted to get that feel of, adventure that I got from either anime or video game that I was playing, at the time, all the RPG and stuff like. I just wanted that feeling, where you wanna see more actually. So that trailer vibe, I kind of like the trailer vibe for short films sometimes.
Yeah.
It just, because I just love when you want to see more, you're like, oh fuck, it's already finished. I just want more now.
That leads you on to, I guess, one of the final few questions before we head off. what are your inspirations? Not just only for this film, but even generally from your, I guess, life and creative journey overall. What things give you that feeling as a consumer that you want to give as creative?
Yeah, I guess whatever I'm gonna like, the movie, comics, like TV show, like going in, traveling, like I haven't been traveling like for quite some time now, but I can see like that give me like more like the fuel, that kind of refresh everything in your mind. So that's something that's the main stuff, I guess, what I'm gonna experience in real life that's gonna help me out. Or good music, a good, whatever, like music can trigger like something pretty quickly when because it's fun, because it started because I was listening again to that soundtrack, and that there was that one music that I really loved. And I just started like listening to it while I was working. I even put it in Blender. Like, it's useless, but you can put like truly like the soundtrack in the timeline. So every time I was playing like the small animation, like the music was starting. So I was like, that's cool. So it was
What was the name of that?
Depends. Like, can be whatever. Yeah.
What was the name of that game again? I gotta hear this call.
Grandia. I can. Yeah.
Got it. And any shout outs you want to give to like IPs, projects that have inspired you, even fellow artists or people?
What, for that project, or
no, just for you, just for your whole creative existence?
Fuck, like there is like every day there is a new one almost. So it's I don't know, like the Ghibli stuff that's behind like Mobius, whatever, like all that stuff. I guess that inspired us. Like every day, like can be like a new artist, it's hard to pick. Like I cannot, there is so many like stuff that there's always something or someone new. So
Florent,
it's like 3D. It's overwhelming as fuck, just because there is always something new that's gonna.
That is true. Like there's always, to be fair, I think it's like a blessing as well, because there's constant inspiration and constant things that can like your Last of Us story was, I think, great way to show like a kind of inspiration. Like when you see a bar or you see a level to aspire to, and you did it over the weekend, for example, just try and get close to that. That's a great one as well. And it's always constant. Does it ever get too much though? The constant barrage of inspiration.
No, yeah, clearly, yeah. Sometimes I'm cutting from even watching, because I know like ArtStation now, I'm not that much onto it. Like, because I know sometimes it can be just like, even like, especially when sometimes you're like, okay, I'm not that much inspired, and you look at that and you're like, okay, everyone is doing amazing and I cannot do, fucking anything lately. So ArtStation, I try to be, to stay away a bit now from checking it.
Florent, it's time to wrap up. Before we head off, any final words or thoughts from yourself before we do?
Not really. I don't know. Just whatever. Like, have fun and not much to say more. I don't know. It's always the hard part,
Right.
I don't know.
Cool. Thanks so much for jumping on, man. This is amazing.
Thanks, man. It's been a pleasure.
A massive thanks to Florent for sharing his journey and advice. Hit the links to see what he is up to and to give him a follow. And a friendly reminder, all of our first lessons are free. So head to learnsquare.com and propel your own creative journey today. I've been your host, Aaron Danda. Till next time.